Zoxthara, a Calaxian warrior, surveyed the battlefield with his 4 eyes, each a different shade of disgust. The acrid smell of plasma discharge filled the air, mingling with the unmistakable stench of fear. His mandibles clicked in irritation as he watched a group of humans suiting up nearby. "Hiring these pink-skinned barbarians," he muttered to his fellow soldier, Krivak. "What a waste of resources." Krivak's antennae twitched in agreement. Command must be desperate. As if on cue, a plasma bolt sizzled past, vaporizing Krivak mid-nod. Zoxthara blinked his 4 eyes in rapid succession, a Calaxian expression of shock. "Well," he said to no one in particular, "that's inconvenient." The battle erupted around him, a cacophony of screams and explosions. Zoxthara found himself separated from his unit, scuttling through the debris-strewn landscape. His exoskeleton, usually a source of pride, now felt as useful as tissue paper against the enemy's weaponry. As he ducked behind a twisted hunk of metal, a figure in bulky armor landed beside him with a thud. Zoxthara's upper eyes narrowed in recognition. A human mercenary. "Greetings, alien buddy," the human said, voice muffled by his helmet. "Looks like we're in a bit of a pickle." Zoxthara's mandibles clicked rapidly, the Calaxian equivalent of an eye roll. "I don't need your help, Fleshbag. Your presence will only compromise my position." The human shrugged, the motion comically exaggerated by his bulky armor. "Suit yourself. I'll just be over here, not helping." Zoxthara ignored him, focusing instead on the battlefield. He needed to regroup with his unit, preferably without getting vaporized like poor Krivak. He scuttled from cover to cover, acutely aware of the human following him like an oversized armored shadow. "I told you to leave," Zoxthara hissed. "And I ignored you," the human replied cheerfully. "It's a talent of mine." A nearby explosion sent them both diving for cover. As the dust settled, Zoxthara found himself uncomfortably close to the human. "You know," the human said, helmet tilted in what Zoxthara assumed was a thoughtful pose. "For someone with 4 eyes, you're not very observant. We've been going in circles for the past 10 minutes. Zoxthara's exoskeleton flushed a deep purple, the Calaxian equivalent of an embarrassed blush. "I knew that," he lied. "I was testing you." "Of course you were," the human agreed, sarcasm dripping from every syllable. "And I'm the Queen of England." Before Zoxthara could ask what an England was, another explosion rocked their position. This time, it was the human who reacted first, pulling Zoxthara out of harm's way with surprising strength. "You saved me," Zoxthara said, mandibles slack with shock. The human shrugged again. "Don't read too much into it. You make a good meat shield." Despite himself, Zoxthara felt his opinion of the human shifting. Perhaps these barbarians weren't entirely useless after all. As they continued their perilous journey across the battlefield, Zoxthara found himself engaging in what the humans might call banter. It was not entirely unpleasant. "So," the human said as they crouched behind a smoldering vehicle, "come here often." Zoxthara's lower left eye twitched. "Is this really the time for your primitive attempts at humor?" "Hey, if we're going to die, might as well die laughing," the human replied. Just then, a group of enemy soldiers appeared, weapons charged. Zoxthara prepared for his final stand, but the human had other ideas. With a series of moves that seemed to defy both gravity and common sense, the mercenary dispatched the enemies in seconds. Zoxthara's 4 eyes blinked in unison. "That was impressive," he admitted grudgingly. "All in a day's work," the human said, brushing imaginary dust from his armor. "Now, shall we find your friends? I'm sure they're lost without you." As they finally reached the Calaxian base, battered but alive, Zoxthara felt an unfamiliar emotion. It took him a moment to recognize it as respect. The human reached into a compartment in his armor and pulled out a flask. "Drink?" he offered. Zoxthara hesitated, then accepted. As the burning liquid hit his system, he realized something profound. Perhaps the universe was big enough for both Calaxians and humans after all. "You're still a barbarian," Zoxthara said, handing back the flask. The human's laugh echoed inside his helmet. "And you're still a stuck-up bug. But hey, at least we're alive to argue about it." As they parted ways, Zoxthara wondered if this was the start of an unlikely friendship or just the universe's idea of a joke. Knowing his luck, probably both.